friends, I am back today with my second video with the dollar bead box and the dollar bead bag for October 2025. I have cut open pretty much all the strands and just put a little sampling of everything. I did bring in some owl beads from my stash. They were left over from another bead box. And I have a couple of gold-filled diamond cut jump rings and my Soft Flex number 2 crimp tubes. I'm going to be stringing on my Soft Flex Butterscotch Imperial Topaz color wire. It just goes so good with this cozy like coffee, creamer, cocoa, and marshmallows and sweater weather. I mean, that's just exactly what I saw. And when I opened this box, this was the piece I really wanted to make. So I did the unboxing and some earrings that can coordinate with this in my first video. I'll put a link to that video in the description box under this one. And I have made a start here. So I cut everything open, and I just recently got a new assortment of spacer beads. So it came like this. There was these gorgeous like corrugated squares and these little cylinders that are textured, some discs that have a little texture, and some lantern shaped beads. Like there's, I don't even know, 6 or 8 different ones. These little knots are in here. It is the coolest assortment. Like there's the little knots and these really cute little small floral spacers. Like it's a really cool little bead assortment. So I just pulled a few things from that. The little squares, the discs, these little guys that I used in my earring video. I have some 11/0 seed beads. I have some 6/0 seed beads. I have some gold brass ball head pins. And I also have some copper embossed oval link chain from Purity Beads. It's one of my favorite chains. I have this in 3 different colors. I don't know what's in stock on their website, but I will put a link, and I have a discount code for Purity Beads. It's a father and son business that I found at a bead show. And so this copper, well, all of their chains have an anti-tarnish coating on them. So that's going to be the back or the finish of my necklace. I just love the copper and gold. It's like very warm and bright metals in with these yummy caramel and topaz and coffee creamer colors. Like this, I just love it. So I've kind of laid out here where I'm going with this necklace. I didn't cut this strand open yet, but this is going to be the focal. This is going to be sort of the spacer beads for my charms. So I need 19 charms because I'm planning to put one in between every single bead, every single 6mm Czech glass bead when I string. And when I start stringing, I will make some decisions about the stringing. I may pop some gold seed beads in between, but I do want the charms to be quite close together and no 2 charms alike. So I have like done a few. I made a start, and I have to tell you, I really wanted to sit and make this necklace so badly. So this morning, really early, like at 5 o'clock, 5:30, I started making my little charms. And when the sun came up, I do a little power walk every morning, and I could have skipped it this morning because I really wanted to work on my necklace, but I disciplined myself to go, and I'm so glad that I did. I'll put some video at the end of my project today. I've been filming and documenting the growth of this little neighborhood alligator, and I got a really cool video of him this morning. So I'll put that at the end of the video, but here is the start, and I'll have to count them and see what I made, but I'm going to show you how I did these. These are just simple wrapped loops. I did very small wrapped loops, and all my loops are going parallel to my mat because I'm going to either use the copper split rings that came in this box this month, or I may switch to gold regular jump rings. Again, when I start stringing, I will make those decisions, but I'm making some of my charms extremely thin, and I think this is my longest one. So I made this one first because I don't want my charms to get any longer than this, because when I string, I want to have it pretty uniform, or at least maybe a little bit of a stagger, but I don't want to have too many variations in this length. So these are so fun to make, and if you love making bead patterns, this project is for you. Look at the little fancy wire wrap I did on the dagger bead. The loop is hiding behind that spiral, so my ring can go right through that hole. If you love playing, if you love playing with beads, and if it is relaxing and therapeutic for you to create bead patterns, this project is for you, because you can just play in the beads and create different counts, different spacing. It's just so fun. I love this little charm. I just love them all, and I don't want to do any two alike, so I've kind of pulled like a little bit of everything from the mix. So let's do another one of these little guys right here. This is a simple little kind of a flower charm, but I did a double loop on it, and my top loop is parallel to my mat and my bottom loop is perpendicular to my mat, so that the orientation of that little spiral is just right. So let's do one of those. I'm going to grab some 24 gauge wire. This is my soft flex wire, and maybe 12 inches or so. I can find the end. There it is. I never measure. I know that drives some of you crazy, but I just eyeball it. I like to have a little working wire. It's not wasted, because if wire is too short, then you can struggle with your wraps. So I did this one in this burnt sienna color. So I'm using these 4mm Czech glass beads, and the first two are going to go on right next to each other with no seed bead in between, and I'll show you why that's necessary. So that's the middle of my pattern, and then I'm going to string on another, I'm sorry, already getting it wrong, then a seed bead, an 11/0 seed bead, and then another fire polish, and then an 11/0, and then I'm going to finish with a fire polish. And I'm going to come to this side and do the exact same things. I'm stringing from both sides of the wire. So seed bead, fire polish, seed bead, and what you want is a total of 6 fire polish beads separated by seed beads, but you're omitting the seed bead at the end and right here in the middle, and you'll see it'll become apparent. This is very fine gauge wire, so I'm just going to pull this into a little circle. Just get it, not kink my wire, and just shape as nicely as I can a little circle. I'm going to come right here and bend this wire up, so that's going to be my wrapped loop at the top of my ring. Just try to maintain that circle a little bit, but it's fine gauge wire, so you can hand sculpt after a little bit. And then I'm just going to wrap this other wire around the wire that I directioned up, and I'm going to just tighten it a little bit, just flatten it and tighten it. And just wrap down here. I do better when I hold, my fingers are in the way, but I do better when I hold my ring pretty tightly with my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm just going to wrap down like that. And so once I have my ring wrapped, I just want to direction this wire straight down the middle of the ring and aim for the spot between those two beads where I omitted the seed bead. And just get this nice and flat, because I'm going to wrap on top of that when I create my loop. And then I just want to fill up the center of my ring. So I'm going to do an 11/0 seed bead, a 6/0 seed bead, and an 11/0 seed bead. And you could play around, like that's what I had out here to work with, but you could put like a 6/0 Czech glass round in the middle, whatever kind of fills up that space in the middle. And then I do best when I hold my thumb and finger over my work, and I want to very tightly wrap around that space that's in between the two fire polish rounds, and without kinking my wire, I'm going to loop it back through. So just pull gently and come up here to the base and coax it around, and just give that a nice tight pull. And then I'm in position to do a loop at the top and at the bottom. So if you want to make this as a charm, then you would simply snip this off right here. But I'm going to do double loops so that it matches this one, so that I can hang a charm from the bottom as well. So I'm going to come to the top here. Now this loop is going to be the one that's parallel to my mat, so I want to bend it in the same direction. And for newer people, your plier here, this space here, when you put that in there, that space right there is the space you're creating that you will fill up with wraps. So I'm going to shift to a little bit smaller chain nose plier, just because I'm using 4mm beads and 26 gauge wire. So I'm going to give that bend, and so you can see that plier width there. That is my wrapping space. Now I'm going to come with my round nose plier and stay down on this cone pretty close and wrap a wire wrapped loop. And so for those of you that are newer to jewelry, or if you've watched me and you see I choose different tools like these, I have several pairs of everything because I'm a jewelry toolaholic. But I don't know if you can see the difference in the size of the round nose pliers and my chain nose pliers and bent chain nose pliers. I will choose, like today I actually have both out here, but I'm reaching for my smaller ones because I'm making such tiny little components. So if you're wondering why you see different tools in my hand, it's for that reason. So I'm doing like a really neat wrap, and I'm going to wrap down, and I'm going to wrap right on top of where I directioned the wire, just to make it look kind of continuous. Just tidy everything up. And like always, snip and tuck the cut end. And now down here on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to bend the wire. And let me go in the direction that I was already wrapping around. I'll keep going in that direction. So I'm going to put my plier there, and this time I'm bending the wire. So this loop will be perpendicular to my mat. And I'm going to do another pretty small loop. Rotate my plier. Get my loop created and get it centered. So it's really centered on my tiny little component. But then I'm going to come right here and just open this loop a little bit, kind of like we would a jump ring. And I'm going to take one of the spirals and drop it down inside that loop, and then come back and close up that space that I just gave myself. And so see, doing it that way makes that spiral hang like that. And I'm just going to get in here with my bent chain nose pliers and do another wrap. And there we have another little charm. So I'm going to have to, like, after I have all of these made, I'm going to have to sit here for a moment and kind of play with how the order in which I'm going to string these. So let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I need 8 more charms. So I have some really fine ball head pins here, and I am just going to create some more charms. Let me see what I haven't used yet. These copper have not been used. So I'm going to do a copper. So that's going to be my next one. And same thing, I'm doing all wire wrapped loops here because I know that I'm going to be attaching everything with jump rings or split rings, and I'm using very fine ball head pins, so I don't trust simple loops on those very much when they're super fine. My little owl, and I'll show you guys how I did the wire work on the dagger bead. So I'm going to take another piece of that same 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to feed it down onto this fine gauge wire and just bring it up together like that, and use my pliers to pinch them together at the top of the dagger bead, just like that. And then I'm going to take this wire here and bend it off to the right. So fine. Fine little wire. Just bend it off to the right like that. And I'm just going to wrap it around the back and come back around to the front. Just, you know, just to make sure it's secure. And now with this wire, I am going to choose a bead for the top. Let's see, maybe a metal bead this time. Like I said, I don't want any two of my charms to be alike, so I'm trying not to duplicate any of my patterns. So I'll do that on this one, and then I'm going to come here and do a wire wrapped loop at the top, 90-degree bend. Put my round nose plier in and just get my wire wrapped loop. But since I have all this extra wire, that's when, once the loop is wrapped, that's when you use that wire to do further embellishment. And you can like cut it away, but I always leave it hanging out until I have decided if I'm going to use it to embellish or not. So I'm just going to do the same thing, just wrap down to that chocolatey bead, nice and neat. And when I get here, I'm going to let this one hang out, and I'm going to use this one to go around my dagger bead. So I'm going to go down and around, and just like that. And then right here, I'm going to take my round nose pliers and do a little spiral. And let's see, let me get wires in my way. Turn it this way so you can create a little spiral here with this wire. I want it tight, so I'm trying to get right on the end. So just make that little tiny coil on the end, and I'm just going to coil it, push it against my finger. And then I want it to be really flat against the dagger, so I'm going to get in here and bend it that way. And also nylon jaw pliers, just a little pressure so it's snuggled really close to the bead. And then I can decide if I want to just trim this one or make another little spiral here like I did on the other one. And I think the little spiral is really nice, so I'm going to take some of this length off because that's way too long. And same thing, I'm going to make a really tight little, or you know, like if you think you want this spiral to have space in the middle for the jump ring to go through for attaching, then make a little bit more of an open center, so like that. That will give you a little bit of space for putting your jump ring through. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make sure that I have the space there for my ring to go through when I start stringing. Look at that little component, isn't that cute? It's amazing what 2 beads and a little bit of wire can give you. Just love it. Okay, I've got a few more to design here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on this one, I'm going to use that scrap of 26 gauge wire and hang my flower like that, and basically do the same thing, just get a couple of wraps around my upward wire and then choose a little bead stack for the top. It's a really cute one. That one, it's so pretty. And I want to make sure that my loop is going in the same direction as my flower so that this charm will be facing forward when I attach it. Okay, I'm just going to string off the spool here because I know exactly what my pattern is going to be. And I started to kind of put my charms on in between the 6mm fire polish just to see if I liked how they were hanging, and I do. I actually tried it with a small seed bead on either side of my charm and I didn't care for it. It was spreading them out too much. I want to keep my charms basically hanging right beside each other. And then I did decide to go with a little small 4mm copper jump ring, and you can make them. I make mine a lot, but I have this little assortment of small jump rings and I'm just using the copper ones. But I wanted to share something with you. On these spike beads that I've done a spiral connection, when I put those little small jump rings, I'm going to show you what happens. And so I'm changing the ones on those. Let me put it on and I'll show you what happens to the way that it hangs. I don't care for it. So see how it's pushing my spiral up in between the 2 beads basically. I need that spiral to be hanging beneath the 6mm fire polish. So I'm going to take this little jump ring off, and I just made 2 6mm jump rings so that the spiral will hang beneath the bead, the fire polish. Does that make any sense at all? Sometimes when I hear myself talking, I think that made no sense. So I'll do this and show you the difference. So, and I am going to sit and just quickly put my jump rings on all of my charms so that they are ready for stringing. So see the difference? My spiral is hanging right beneath the beads, and that's what I want. So all the rest of my charms are going to get this little small jump ring here, but the 2 dagger beads that I did the spiral on, I'm going to pop in one of those larger jump rings. And this is the layout that I came up with. That's the order in which I decided to do them, and no 2 are alike, but I did want to separate some of the links, separate like the plain charms that have no beads and my little flower charms with the spirals. So just like evenly mix everything. So I am going to quickly put a jump ring on the top of every charm. Just make sure it's closed really well. Make kind of a production line of this, so I'm going to do all of them and then string a charm, a bead, a charm, a bead, just like that. Have a look and see. Just gorgeous, and it's so like dangly and just fun. So the other thing is, when I get this all strung, I have these fire polished 3mm out here, and I still have my jump rings, and I'm going to create some really fancy loops that connect into the jump ring and then connect to my copper chain, and again mixing the gold and silver and all these metals here. So I'm just going to take about 3 or 4 minutes and pop a jump ring on every charm that I made, make sure it's closed really well. Okay, that's my last one, and I am ready to string. My gosh, this is so cute, you guys. It is so, so cute. I love it so much. Okay, I'm going to come to this end with my number 2 crimp tube. These are the gold filled ones from the Soft Flex company. And I want to get out some gold 11-0 seed beads. So I'm just going to pop a little gold 11-0 seed bead in between each of the fire polish for my connecting loop here. Well, that is way more than I will need. So I'm going to just put on a fire polish, an 11-0, just make a loop here. So that's 10 fire polish, and I think that looks really pretty. So I'm going to come down to this end and put my wire back through the number 2 crimp tube and just pull that loop. That is way too much waste of wires. I'm going to back this down a little bit to make a smaller tail. Oh, and I see that I have to remove my last seed bead. I want to finish my loop. Started with a fire polish, and I want to finish with a fire polish. want to make sure that you feel that you are perfectly in the center before you close down. And when you close down, you've turned the tube into a square with 4 pinched corners. And then in the opposite direction, I just felt it go right in the center, close down in that opposite direction, and then just keep your tube, or what's forming into a bead now, right in that position, and open and close as you turn your work or the plier. It only takes a couple of times, but it turns the tube into a little bead that looks exactly like the 11O seed beads. Now I don't know if my fire polish beads will go through. Oh, it does. Okay, I love that. But I don't want, I guess I can see how it will go over my jump rings as well. So I'm just going to scoot everything down and let my cut end go through these beads, a couple of beads. Okay, now I can come to this end and trim a little bit here and make the same loop. Put my other number 2 crimp tube on and let it drop down. And I'm going to make the same loop with a fire polish, a seed bead of fire polish, until I have 10 fire polish on this side. I decided to put a crimp cover over my number 2 crimp tube. I don't always do that. It's not always necessary. I do like the way it looks like an 11O seed bead, but for some reason on this piece, I just felt like a little bit larger dot of gold. So I'm just going to fit my magically crimped bead in the crimp cover and close it really gently. It's very malleable metal, so I'm just going to go side to side, slowly, small, gentle increments until that seam is closed. Okay, my little charm necklace is ready to attach to the chain, and on my chain I did not cut it in half for a clasp, and I'm not sure that I'm going to. I really love necklaces to pop over my head. Here in Florida, you know, I rarely wear a turtleneck anything, but like for a long sleeve t-shirt or a fine gauge sweater, I do wear those in the winter. I like to just pop over my head a piece like this. So I'm just going to attach my jump rings, and after I try it on, if I feel like I want to snip my chain in the middle here and put a clasp on it, I can, but I'm going to start out with a pop over the head necklace. And like always, you guys, I will put some better pictures up at the end of the video, and I thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in receiving the dollar bead box and bag every month, my discount code will be listed in the description box under this video. And I thank you for watching again, and if you'll give my video a thumbs up, and if that new feature, the new update to YouTube algorithm to hype one of my videos appears for you, it would be so greatly appreciated. You are allowed to hype 3 videos a week, and if you make it one of mine, I would be so grateful. And I thank you again, and I hope everybody's having a great start off to the autumn season as I am. I'm enjoying my morning walks again because the heat has calmed down a lot, and so I hope you enjoy my little photo documenting of the little neighborhood alligator and the other wildlife that's around me. I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao, friends. Hi, little guy. What do you see in there? You looking for the alligator? I'm looking for the alligator. I'm the alligator paparazzi.